Hello everyone, welcome to my very first YouTube video. If you're coming on here, I'm assuming you're probably coming from TikTok, but if not, my name is Rowan and today I'm going to be teaching you all how I edit my pictures. Alright, let's get into it. So I use a couple of different apps to edit, but my favorite is definitely Lightroom. So I'm going to insert over here on the screen a screen recording so you can see everything that I'm doing throughout the video. Okay, so the very first thing that I do is I bring my picture into Airbrush. So today I'm going to be using this picture that I edited and posted the other day. And as you can see, there's this awkward thing on my garage. So the first thing that I do is I remove that. So after I remove the little thing that's on my garage, then I just go in and there's like some splotchy places on my legs. So I just go in with the smooth tool and I just very lightly go over the parts of my skin that are blotchy on my legs. Okay, so the next thing that I do is I save that in Airbrush and then I go over to Lightroom. So I'm going to add in the picture to Lightroom, and then I'm going to find another picture that I really like the preset on. So this one was also in front of my garage, so I'm going to choose this one, copy, and this just kind of makes the process a little bit easier so I don't have to go in and edit so much, but I still am going to go in and change the individual colors because every picture is going to be different. Okay, so that's what it looks like. And I definitely want to change some of the colors on this. So some of the basic adjustments that I like to make on all my pictures is I like to take the highlights all the way down. This just makes the pictures like a little bit less like super contrasty and punchy. So here's like the before. So a lot of the colors are just like very punchy, and I like things to be a little bit more faded and more like vintage aesthetic. So that's what that looks like when you take the highlights down. And then same thing for shadows. So you can take the shadows all the way down, but I like them a little bit up, just like because it brightens my face, it brightens my hair, and everything like that. I also, just to add more dimension back into the picture, because when you put the highlights down and the shadows up, you lose a lot of dimension. So I like to put the blacks a little bit down, especially when you're wearing something that is black, like in this picture, because you don't want your blacks to be super washed out. I'll show you what that looks like. So then it completely changes the color of the top. So I like the blacks a little bit down. And then I also normally go into clarity under effects, and I'll up that a little bit, and sometimes the dehaze, just to add dimension back into the picture. And then I also love adding grain to my pictures. Sometimes I will wait and do this in the Tezza app. It just kind of depends on the picture and the aesthetic I'm going for. Okay, so here's a tip to make your legs look a little bit longer in Lightroom. You're going to go to the Geometry tab, and so see how you can kind of see the edges on the outside? Here's the before. So you just move it slightly to the right, and it makes it more like a wide angle lens, and so it's going to make your legs look longer. You can also mess with the vertical adjustments and the horizontal and see how that kind of makes your legs look longer too, but I feel like it looks a little too much, so I don't normally add a ton to that. And then I just go into crop, and for this picture I cropped it a lot because I wanted to do more of like a detailed shot, so I crop it like, I think that looks good. Okay, so I just save that. Oh, and also make sure to do it in 4:5 because that is the length and width for Instagram. The way that I edit is very different depending on the picture. So now I'm going to be showing you how I edit a flat lay picture. This is what we're starting out with. So some of the things that I want to change about this picture are that I want to make it a little bit less yellow. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to go into light. I'm just going to adjust the exposure ever so slightly to the right to brighten it just a bit. Again, I always take the highlights pretty far down and the shadows up. I'm going to go into color, and I like my pictures to be a little bit warm, but don't worry, we're going to fix the yellow tones. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Trust the process. Then you go into yellows. This is the important part. You want to take the saturation down to like there, and then the luminance up. This is also a really good trick if you're blonde and say you have some like brassy tones, you haven't gotten your hair done in a while because quarantine, you know. So you can very easily fix this by just taking the saturation down on your yellows and the luminance up. Then I'm going to go into oranges, and I think I'm going to take the luminance down and the saturation down just a tad. Okay. Right, that looks pretty good. I think on this picture I'm actually going to take the blacks a bit up, and then just to add some definition back into the picture, I'm going to go to effects and clarity and add some clarity back into the picture and a little bit of dehaze and sharpening. And then that is the before and after. Okay, so lastly, I'm going to show you guys how to edit in VSCO. I know not everyone has Lightroom. Lightroom is free, but for a lot of people, Lightroom is very difficult to use. So I'm going to show you a couple of my favorite filters on VSCO just as an added bonus in case you don't want to invest in presets just yet. Okay, so this is the picture that I'm going to be editing in VSCO. And so some of my favorites are M6, M5, N1, and M4. Oh, and A6. I also really like A6. This is what that looks like. I think for this picture, I'm going to use M6. All of the M's are just really good. And so are the A's, A6, A4. They're all really good. Okay. So I don't like it super, super intense like that, so I'm going to take it to around 4.5. That looks pretty good. Then I, of course, go to highlights and take those down. See how it just makes things like less like super punchy? So I take that down and the shadows down. Okay, now we're gonna go and fix my hair. So you go to HSL, and I think you can only get HSL if you have like VSCO Pro. So if you don't have VSCO Pro, just go into Lightroom and do that trick that I talked about with the yellows. So just up the luminance, take the saturation down, and it'll fix all of the brassy tones in your hair. So I'm gonna go in and just brighten the yellows and take that saturation down. See that huge difference that made? Okay. And I'm going to go back in and I'm going to go to oranges. And you can't see like a ton of my skin in this, but you can see a little bit. And so I just like to make it slightly more on the pink side and take it down. Maybe the saturation up a bit since the saturation got washed out with the filter. Okay. And then since I do have a green sweater on, I'm going to make the greens pop a little bit more. There we go, I like that. And then sometimes I'll mess with the blues too. I don't think, since there's a lot of blue in this picture, that I'm going to really touch that though. Okay, so that's the before, that's the after. And now I'm gonna go in and add a little bit of clarity, since we took a lot of the dimension out, and some sharpen. And then I'm going to go into grain, add a bit of grain. I think that looks pretty good. All right, that is the before and that's the after. And you just save to camera roll. And then the nice thing about VSCO too is you can do the same thing that you do in Lightroom. So you can highlight a picture, hit the little 3 dots, copy edits, and then paste them onto your other pictures.